JBN, we keep you informed. I am Michelle Jones, and in the news, Euchance Wilson found guilty of firearm and shooting charges. Euchance Wilson, the alleged leader of the gang, bearing his name, has been found guilty of being in possession of a firearm and shooting with intent. The verdict was handed down in the Home Circuit Court this afternoon by presiding judge, Chief Justice Brian Sykes. Sykes said Wilson, by his own account, verified the testimony of a senior cop who had taken the stand during the trial. The cop had recounted an incident in which police personnel acting on information from a crony of the alleged gang leader went to accost him and were involved in an exchange of gunfire in which Wilson was injured. The gang, which is said to have wreaked havoc in St. Catherine, Clarendon, St. Andrew, St. Mary, Manchester, Trelawney and St. Anne, was busted in December 2017. It is said that the gang gained more than $400 million from its illegal activities across the island and was linked to 12 licensed firearms that were reported stolen during 18 robberies. 13 other accused in the trial are also awaiting their verdicts. Elderly taxi driver warned for prosecution following fatal crash. A 75-year-old taxi operator was warned for prosecution following a fatal crash which claimed the life of a woman on the Duns River Main Road on Monday. Dead is Donette Smith of Steertown in St. Anne. Reports from the Ocho police are that about 3:30 p.m., a Toyota Corolla driven by the elderly man with Smith aboard was heading towards Ocho when on reaching a section of the roadway, the driver lost control of the vehicle and collided with a Toyota Axia motor car traveling in the opposite direction. They were assisted to hospital where Smith was pronounced dead on arrival and the driver treated. Investigations are ongoing. All 27 positive farm workers are Jamaicans. The 27 migrant farm workers who reportedly tested positive for the coronavirus at an apple farm in Vermont in the United States last weekend are all Jamaicans, Champlain Orchards confirmed yesterday. In a telephone interview, a spokesperson said that the Jamaicans took the virus there. They're all Jamaicans, a sales administrator at the company, who gave her name as Becky, said. They did not catch it here. They came here with it. They were in quarantine when they were tested. On Monday, state officials said that 27 positive cases contributed to the biggest one-day increase in cases since June 3, in a state that has consistently had one of the nation's lowest infection rates. Health officials also supported the claim that the apple pickers took the virus to the farm when they arrived on September 14 and were placed in a 14-day quarantine. A message posted on the farm's website yesterday said the orchard is closed until further notice. It is understood that at least one of the Jamaicans has been hospitalized. Champlain Orchard said that affected workers would receive proper medical care without having to worry about finances. In a message to its consumers and community, Champlain Orchards said no U.S. staff member tested positive for COVID-19 and that based on health recommendations, they quickly moved to prevent anyone who might have been contagious from coming into contact with other workers. Health Commissioner Dr. Mark Levine said the cases were unearthed after the health department offered testing to all workers over the weekend, leading to the latest results, and contact tracing has been underway. The cases linked to the orchard made up the majority of the 33 new confirmed cases the state reported on Monday, for a total of 1,817 total cases since the pandemic began. Earlier this year, there were reports of Jamaicans who visited Canada on the program testing positive for the virus. Many Jamaican farm workers reportedly signed a Ministry of Labour-issued document indemnifying the Jamaican government against responsibility if they contracted COVID-19 while away. From bedbugs to water woes, elderly inmates live in filth, says Indicom. The country's two largest correctional facilities now house 103 inmates over the age of 60, and the Independent Commission of Investigations Indicom says the conditions under which they and other prisoners are being held violate both local and international rules. Overcrowding and other health violations threaten to worsen the elderly's vulnerability to the new coronavirus, which killed 126 people in Jamaica and infected almost 7,200 up to Tuesday. Breaches have occurred in other adult correctional centers, in which another 20 inmates over the age of 60 are being held. The Tower Street Adult Correctional Center houses 77 inmates aged 60 and older, with a total population of 1,637. The St. Catherine Adult Correctional Center has 26 prisoners over the age of 60 in a population of 800. Established at first to facilitate the trading of slaves, Tower Street was commissioned by the British colonial government to be used as a prison in 1845. The facility was built to house 800 people. St. Catherine was built by the British in 1655 as a holding area for slaves, but later became a facility for inmates condemned to death. The prison was built to accommodate 450 people. In its second quarterly report, which was tabled in Parliament on Tuesday, Indicom inquired into the treatment of inmates over the age of 60 years across 6 adult correctional institutions. This probe is a follow-up to the shocking revelations surrounding the death in custody of 81-year-old Noel Chambers on January 20 at Tower Street. The oversight body examined each institution in relation to physical conditions, healthcare, records, as well as compliance with the correctional institution rules and the United Nations standard minimum rules for treatment of prisoners. According to Indicom, non-compliance was observed with Nelson Mandela Rule 12, which sets out the accommodation standards for cells and dormitories. The oversight body reported that overcrowding at both Tower Street and St. Catherine was routine, as cells designed to house one inmate currently have up to 4 persons. As a result of the overcrowding, the space available to inmates in some of the cells was limited. The inmates compensated by tying their belongings to the cell walls and using makeshift hammocks to store their personal effects. Inmates sleep in these hammocks, which hang from the ceiling, the oversight body reported. Indicom was unable to determine if Tower Street was complying with specific rules established by the correctional services in relation to oversight regarding food quality, cell inspections, and infectious disease, as there were no records to show adherence to the standards. At St. Catherine, there was not uniform adherence to the rules, said Indicom. Prison officials highlighted resource constraints when quizzed about compliance. Breaches were observed at St. Catherine as there was no water in toilets, and inmates had to use a bucket filler with water from a drum to flush toilets. Live bed bugs or chinks were found in mattresses. Partial compliance with the Mandela Rule 109 was observed, as inmates with mental illness frequently received treatment by doctors, but the healthcare service seemed restricted. Another breach was exposed by Indicom, as it is said that prisoners who had not been tried by the courts were not separated from convicted persons. As of July 31, 2020, there was a total of 2,916 inmates housed at the 7 adult correctional facilities across the country, of which 123 or 4% were aged 60 years and older. The other correctional centers investigated include Tambourine Farm, South Camp, Richmond Farm, and New Broughton Sunset. Of the 102 female inmates housed at the South Camp Adult Rehabilitation Center, only 2 are 60 years or older. Jamaica records 2 more COVID deaths and 82 new cases. The Ministry of Health and Wellness says the country has recorded 2 more COVID-19 deaths and 82 new cases of the virus in the last 24 hours. The ministry said the recent deaths include a 59-year-old female from St. Elizabeth and an 82-year-old male from Westmoreland, who was previously reported as under investigation. The passing of a 56-year-old female from St. Catherine was also reported as a coincidental death. The latest deaths bring the total confirmed deaths to 128. Meanwhile, the new cases consist of 32 males and 50 females, with ages ranging from 3 years to 96 years old, the ministry said. The country's total confirmed cases now stand at 7,273. Of the new cases, 24 from St. James, 22 from Kingston and St. Andrew, 10 from St. Catherine, 7 from St. Elizabeth, 5 from Manchester, 3 each from Clarendon, St. Anne and Westmoreland, 2 from Trelawney, and 1 each from Portland, St. Mary and St. Thomas. 2 of the new cases were reported as imported, 2 considered locally transmitted, 7 are contacts of confirmed cases, while the other 71 are under investigation. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.